Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
You know, this is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/FUTURE.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.
Welcome to the Irish NFL Show, brought to you by QuinnBet. We're now on the Believe Network. Believe hosts a range of shows covering all the main US sports and publishing over 1,000 hours of content per month, connecting passionate fans with the sports they love. We're 1 month away today from the opening night of the 2026 draft, which takes place this year in Pittsburgh. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be taking a closer look at all 32 NFL teams, assessing their areas of greatest need as each of them approaches draft night. And we're going division by division. We'll start with the AFC North. Brian O'Leary, Ciaran Boyle and Craig Rigdon joining me, Conor Brophy, as we look to see who will be kings in the North AFC version in 2026-2027, and who has the most to catch up on and who's the most advanced among the 4 teams in the AFC North. We start with the AFC North champion Pittsburgh Steelers, who barely got there, but they did manage to finish on top of the pile last season. Brian, they will be the host city for the draft. I'm not sure that necessarily confers any advantage as regards who you're going to pull out of the hat. Steelers have 6 draft picks heading into this draft. Still haven't nailed down a contract for Aaron Rodgers, of course, so that'll be one that they'll like to get sorted. Although knowing Aaron Rodgers, that'll be on the eve of the draft or whenever it gets Aaron Rodgers, the most publicity for Aaron Rodgers, because that's Aaron Rodgers' number one concern.
12:55 a.m. Irish local time, just before the draft starts. Aaron Rodgers will announce his intentions whether to come back or not, Conor. Every year now we watch the draft and it's in a great city and we big it up. And even last year, the Packers hadn't selected a wide receiver in years and they picked one, the crowd went bananas. Can you imagine the rumblings come to the 24th pick if the Steelers fans don't get what they want? I'm not going to throw any particular names out here. I'm going to suggest they need some wide receiver help. It kind of became very obvious straight away on the opening day of free agency that they made the trade to bring Pittman over. I think to be a bit light there, McCaffrey for me hasn't really worked out. But ultimately, it does come back to the Aaron Rodgers question.
If only they hadn't let a 1,300-yard receiver go to the Dallas Cowboys last year. They might be one player further ahead there. Oh, well.
Well, I would say we were all kind of on board with that deal because I don't think Pickens was the right attitude either for the Steelers. And another wrinkle, let's not forget, new head coach, Mike Tomlin, is no longer there. The new Mike is in town, Pennsylvania man, Mike McCarthy. Maybe we'll see a different wrinkle to the offense next year. Maybe we'll see him and Aaron Rodgers bring back the glory days like they had for a period of time in Green Bay. Conor, for the Steelers, it's all about the quarterback,
Good
unfortunately,
glory
because,
day, singular.
well, they had a number of good seasons,
Don't,
didn't they, together?
don't troll the Bears fan.
No. Right, okay. Aaron Rodgers has to make the decision because ultimately they're picking at 21. I think one year they were picking at 20 and they took Kenny Pickett. Unfortunately for Steelers fans, this kind of frustration of getting to the playoffs, losing in the wild card round leads to them selecting in this range every year between 15 and 22. And it's a bit of a crapshoot by the time you get there because you don't necessarily know whether you're really going to get the player that you want. It looks obvious that they need wide receiver help, but Ciaran's our guru. He might see it a little bit different, but that's how it started. But ultimately, the quarterback situation, they got Will Howard, Tom McCormick gave that draft selection last year. You could argue they need to pick a quarterback. I saw an interesting one today that a second round pick has gone on a quarterback, but again, mock draft time of the year.
Ciaran, we're playing your tune here and plenty of names I'm sure you can throw out. But if you look at what the Steelers might need, and they were active enough in free agency, let us not forget, Rico Dowdle, Michael Pittman, bolstering their offense. They do look like not only if they may need help in that wide receiver room, as Brian has mentioned, but it's probably also time to freshen the pack on the defensive side of the ball. And that obviously is where the Steelers have invested famously a ton of their resources. But some of the guys getting older there, and they do look like they're going to need some help, particularly in terms of their linebacker core and possibly elsewhere as well, maybe in the secondary.
Yeah, I think, well, in my opinion, I mean, this year you got a new head coach coming in, McCarthy, offensive-minded coach, and what's he going to want to do? I mean, he put up some nice scores up in Dallas. What's he going to want? He's going to want some nice offensive weapons. I do like the Steelers taking a wide receiver. I know they picked up Pittman and they got DK Metcalf in there. Those dudes are both 6'4" ball hawks. Throw in a nice slot receiver, a nice 5'10", 5'11". I'm thinking like Micaiah Lemon, somebody like that, a Jordan Tyson. I definitely think they're going to have to go wide receiver. They also want, you got to remember the Steelers, I don't want to call them boring. I don't want to call them predictable, but how many times did we see a 15-12 game? Their fans, and that was a huge knock on Tomlin towards the end of his reign there. How many times did they just fail to kind of fail to entertain or just grab people's attention with dynamic football? So they're going to look to change that dynamic. They've already done it, bringing Pittman in. I think they're definitely going wide receiver. I'm even thinking maybe a tight end in there, maybe as a Kenyon Sadiq, somebody like that. But they're definitely going to go offense. The defense, we know the story right now. It's TJ Watt, it's Patrick Queen, it's all those dudes. That's a solid unit. What they need help with and what they need to develop is that offensive unit. They need playmakers out there. They need people that can, catch the ball, get the crowd off their feet, get them entertained. So I think first round they're definitely going after wide receivers.
Conor,
Craig,
just jump in.
sorry,
Sorry, Conor, can I jump in? Ciaran, actually, I'll ask you the question. You know the combine where Lemon did his very unique interview style, and people were kind of questioning whether he was the right guy to take. Well, what were your thoughts on that, or what's the kind of perception based on that particular piece?
I think the kid was set up. I think a lot of the thing with the combine is you've got so many hours to fill. You got so many stories to try and find. I mean, listen, if the kid can catch and the kid can ball, people will forget that. Look at last year when you had Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. That's all anybody spoke about for weeks, and then it turned out, oh, hey, he's actually a decent coach. Lemon is a great wide receiver. I don't know if he was coached up like that or if nobody coached him at all. Maybe that's just how he is naturally. People won't care if he can catch the ball and get 20 yards after the catch for every time he gets the ball. So I think it's been forgotten about because, a lot of other stories pop up with the combine, whether it's hand size or, whatever it may be. Now the story, right now you have the combine. Now we're going to pro day. Pro days are happening in late March into April. All the scouts are going to be there today. The Dolphins head coach and Halfley were, and then the GM and Halfley were at the Hurricanes pro day, and there's a lot of Hurricanes coming out. So I'm sure they're not the only ones that were there today. So it's I'm not putting a lot of stock into what Lemon said or how he said it. Just one of those stories that sells lines, and it's just they'll move on to the next story.
This is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/FUTURE.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
What a week, Lemon. It's Tuesday. Craig, we talk in terms of this time of the year about free agency and whether a team nailed free agency or not. Then we're going to talk about the draft and whether a team nailed the draft or not. And then we're going to get to preseason and we'll be absolutely falling all over ourselves because one wide receiver caught a ball with one hand and oh my God, there's the new Odell Beckham Jr. And we get so excited about these individual moments and we forget that it all comes in a holistic package. And I'm going to throw another element in there as well, which is as great a coach as Mike Tomlin was and always has been, there are players on that Pittsburgh roster who did not perform. And at the top of that list really is probably DK Metcalf, who is the number 4 after Jackson Smith and Jigba has just done his record-breaking deal today. The number 4 highest paid wide receiver in the league and did not play anywhere near that level last season. And he wasn't alone on that Steelers roster. They had guys who underperformed. It's not just about who they had. It's about Mike McCarthy and the new coaching staff getting a little bit more out of the offensive side of the ball in particular than they did last year.
Yeah, and I think, and this might be a controversial opinion, but and probably not actually, knowing Brian, because we tend to be on the same wavelength a lot. But Aaron Rodgers also had Garrett Wilson at the Jets and did absolutely naffle with Garrett Wilson, and he is not a bad wide receiver.
He's the number 5 top paid wide receiver.
Oh, look at that! So you're looking at someone like DK. Did DK become the fall guy for the lack of arm power and the declining talent that Aaron Rodgers is now? And that's the big way to look at it. You know, you look at what they were able to do there. DK Metcalf may have had a down season, but he was also pretty much their only wide receiver who put up yards. Their second highest pass catcher was Kenneth Gainwell, who's no longer on the team. So they need to find that from somewhere. Obviously, Calvin Austin was the next highest wide receiver in the terms of yards. He's now at the Giants. I completely agree with what Ciaran was saying. I think they need to look at the slot position, but I don't think they're going to go slot in that first round. I think they're going to go a little later. And you're probably looking at someone like Lewis Bond or Kendrick Law would be maybe in the second round, where they're looking at a bit of speed there because Metcalf has the long speed, but he doesn't have that explosive burst a lot of the time on the short route, and that's what they need to really look at. But it doesn't come down to that quarterback.
As you're talking there, Craig. In terms of the pass catching core is tight end. Like right, you got Pat Frymouth and you got big Darnell Washington, but they don't have any of those modern prototype tight ends like a Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Harold Fannin, who all popped out of the draft, to Sam Laporta, guys we've seen make instant splashes in the NFL. Steelers don't have any of those guys, and they're restricted in terms of what they can actually do on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Ciaran mentions Sadiq, who is just an absolute monster. I mean, the fact that he ran at his size, the 40 time that he did, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a 4.39, if I'm remembering correctly. Just that is just ridiculous for a man of his size. I think they said that he hit the same miles per hour as Jahmyr Gibbs did, and he's like 30 pounds heavier than Gibbs was at the combine. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So he is one. But one thing that I do notice with the Steelers when you look at their tight ends is they do tend to like the sort of the blocking tight end, and I wonder if that's a shortfall in their offensive guard position, and that could be something that they look at, is just shoring up that line quite easily. I mean, you look at Vega Ioane from Penn State, like that kind of jumps off the page a little bit, especially if he falls down to that 21 range. So there's plenty of ways they can go on that offense, but it does look like that's going to have to be the area they strengthen. And, like Brian said, Mike McCarthy's there. He's an offensive mind. That's where they're likely going to go.
Every day, the world gets a little weirder and a lot more awesome. Cool Stuff Daily takes a look at everything from mining in space to the latest in the fight against cancer to how AI is, well, basically changing everything. It's all the cool stuff you didn't know you needed to know. Join us for Cool Stuff Daily as we take a quick look at science, tech, and the wait, what stories that make you sound way smarter at dinner. Subscribe to Cool Stuff Daily now, because the future's happening fast, and it's way too fun to miss.